one of the things I've always promised myself, Natalie, is no matter what happens, no matter how much I succeed, no matter how many times people have tried to hurt me, I will still have faith in people. I will still love them. I will still open my heart to them when I meet them. And I won't close it down because I don't want to die someday and be that person that lived negatively or with bitterness or hatred. This is Dr. Christina Rahm. I'm meeting with Natalie, who I just adore. And we're going to talk today about what Natalie Christopher does and where she's from. And I have to say this, Natalie, I really loved hearing more about you when I was in London. And so I would love for you to share. I have to talk about the football story.
Oh, great.
I thought it was so fascinating. And I came back and I don't know the details like you do. So I would love you. You're doing so many things. So let me just tell the audience, Natalie Christopher is amazing. And she does a lot of different things with different businesses, including Julie and Joe Foster, who we both really adore. They started Reebok and they do a lot of amazing things. And we're in the same group together where we've written parts of books and how we have to survive in life. So we have a common bond. And then both of us are really trying to empower women and help with health and wellness as well as business. But when I sat down with Natalie in London, she told me some stuff I just fell in love with about her past because it hasn't been perfect or easy, just like mine hasn't. And at one point, you were the chairman of a football club, if I'm correct, that didn't
Yeah.
necessarily do that well.
No, no, it definitely didn't. And I was with Joe and Julie last night. So
Oh,
they
that's
they said,
awesome.
yeah, they send their love and I gave him a crown. So he's an inflatable one that he can take with him everywhere he goes.
Oh, he's so great. They are so
He's,
great. She's just like a big light too. I mean, they are
yeah,
just amazing. And what they're doing for the world, I love because they're spreading, they've created this network that you and I are in. And I noticed that
yeah,
Clay just joined that. But that we're all getting to do things together, which I love. It's kind of like the Elysium Circle. Karen
yeah,
Floyd is doing that too.
she
And you
is.
and I are just wrapped up in those movements, and which I think is fantastic. But I don't want to get off the subject. Tell us
No,
about football.
yeah, that was my sneaky way to get away from it.
I know what you're doing. I'm like, no, everyone's going to be interested in this.
Oh, so my family have been involved in Blackpool Football Club for years. My dad saved it from being bulldozed probably about coming up for 40 years ago now, and it's been his passion. It was his life, and he definitely, yeah, we all feel like it was his number one baby, and ahead of his, children. So anyway, and my brother was the chairman of the football club, and they did that for a long time together. But unfortunately, they had a problem. There was a business partnership that went wrong. He turned out to be a money launderer. That was proven in the Paris Court of Appeal, but wasn't, even though it's in Europe, it didn't seem to count for anything in the UK.
Yeah.
So they lost at court and suddenly owed a lot of money. I think it's 35 million to be precise.
That's a lot
To,
of money.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's to find quickly
Yeah.
because things are all wrapped up, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if you couple that with some issues with fans, which is really sad because I think I think my dad made a big effort over the years to have a good relationship with fans. So the beginning of it going bad with the fans was when one was when social media was more shocking than it is now. It's everywhere now, isn't it? And nothing's so
Yeah.
shocking. And we know not to believe
Right.
things now,
Yeah.
don't
There was
we?
a point where we didn't know. You're right. I forgot about that now. Like there was a point where you saw it on social media and you believed it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
exactly. So they were saying things about the players that they had sexually transmitted diseases, were sharing women, were
Yeah.
all stuff that wasn't true, but that was causing problems in their marriages. And
Yeah.
anyway, so they tried to get them to apologize. The club has to take care of the players, and they tried to get the fans involved to apologize and to work it all out. And then they didn't. It escalated. So the football club ended up making a decision. I don't know who it was, whether it was my dad or my brother. I'm not sure. They both probably blame each other, but to sue a fan.
Oh, I didn't know that part. I only knew that you stepped in as the chairman. So this is more
Yeah.
than I even knew. So so they sued they basically because they were now I do remember the whole story because there's been like different documentaries, different stories made out of this, right? So I
Yes.
I for me, just so you know, when you told me this, I about you being the chairman of this club, I know part of the negative press about that. I know some of the negative things, but for me, that's just part of business. I have to be honest. It's not a
Yeah.
good part of business. It's
No.
the part that people don't understand. Like people see a family or they see people that are making money or they're
Mm.
visible on social media or the family's known. They don't understand what goes behind the scenes and how people have to deal with it and how people's lives are. I was actually impressed that you were appointed as chairman, even though it was a bad time in the span of that club. Here's how I look at it. I've been a CEO before during really good times and really bad times of companies. And I think I've learned the most from myself. As much as I hated going through the bad times, they shaped me, right? So I actually, when you told me what you had done, I was impressed because anytime I see someone that's gone through something that hard, I know they're a fighter. And so what you don't know is when you told me that, I know Clay knew that. He could tell. I was so impressed. You had gone through that and you managed something during probably one of the toughest times of a club. You know, that's a lot. Like in our country, we all watch NFL football or NBA or whatever we watch. And that's like like we think all those people that own those clubs are so wealthy because they are, right? And they have so much prestige, but they also go through good and bad times in clubs here, just like they did there. So I did not look at that like a criticism of you, just so you know. I looked at it as something you took on and I was proud of you. I mean, you're young and to go through that and to have to manage that, I can't even, I'm impressed. I really
That's
am.
really nice, and the nicest feedback that I've had, because I've not really wanted to talk about it before having a coffee with you, but I just wanted us to get to know each other, and I know stuff's out there, and it's just better to be honest, isn't it? And
Yeah, but I
so
was impressed with it. So it's so interesting how we're both looking at this because I didn't even know that until right now. I was just impressed that you had at your age done that, and I know, I have 4 children, Natalie, that are adults, right? And they've gone through a lot of hard stuff when it comes to business with us too. But they're stronger as hard as it was to go through all of that. So what's
yeah.
happening with the club now? Because you managed it during like their hardest time, right?
Yeah, it was really tough during that time. The fans were very upset with us. Um, so they were taking a lot of action, and there was a lot of boycotts and a lot of your car getting trashed, and lots of um lots of animosity. So that was difficult. And the only thing you can do is just not bump up against that, and
Right, right,
just let it wash over you, really.
right.
You know that you can't
Oh, yeah, you have to keep
really.
going. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't listen to it. It will overwhelm you. I remember some stuff that happened. Gosh, that's happened throughout my career to try to hurt me, with things that were not true about me on social media or on media or marketing from competitors, right? And so, as competitive as like the sports world is, healthcare is too, just so you know. Because anytime
Yeah.
you have an arena that's impacting people's lives like that in any way, you have the good and the bad and the negative, and a lot of it's played out over PR or marketing or social media, like all of that. And it's very, very hard. And I think one of the biggest advice, one of my best friends, her name's Susan Corbo, and some stuff happened years ago, and I called her. She's one of the top advertising executives in the United States. She travels all over the world. And I
Yeah.
was so overwhelmed. And she said, I know you're not going to want to hear this, but it's during those times that you will become a better person and you'll be able to deal with things that happen in the future. So that's why I was so impressed with you. It was knowing that you had been through that, knowing that both of us are interested in helping younger women,
Yeah,
mentor them through depression and anxiety. And probably some of that's because of what we've been through. So how we've been treated as individuals, that's caused us to have empathy, right, towards other people. And what,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
because these situations that come at you can get very personal and test your confidence, can't they? And
yeah,
test your self-worth and belief. And I don't think people realize like the way you attack someone is it can sort of cut quite deep, can't it?
yes. Yeah. It can impact someone's life so negatively that they don't want to live, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's where bullying comes in. I know even having a daughter, and I know it happens to men too. It happens to women and men, but the bullying just doesn't work. I have this thing about me. If I get upset, I get over it. And if you ask me why, life's way too short, right?
you're
It's not
right.
worth it.
Yeah,
And as humans, we all fail every day. And so
yeah,
I don't feel like focusing on it because how can I when I fail so much, right? So I'm
yeah.
like, how can I be upset with someone for um when I've gone through all these things? And it's one of the things that struck me about you is just your humility and your kindness, but your strength. It's a soft strength that's really interesting. And learning that you'd gone through all the stuff you had gone through, I was blown away. Just understanding how complex and the different things you've gone through, and just still your kind spirit. Because one of the things I've noticed in life as people make money or become successful is they lose their heart, or when they get hurt during that process, they stop trusting, right? And they stop believing in people. And one of the things I've always promised myself, Natalie, is no matter what happens, no matter how much I succeed, no matter how many times people have tried to hurt me, I will still have faith in people. I will still love them. I will still open my heart to them when I meet them. And I won't close it down because I don't want to die someday and be that person that lived negatively or with bitterness or hatred. And it's one of the things that really struck me about you. And I wanted to let you know that that's why I believe in you. That's why I'm definitely for the project you're working on. That's why I'm going to help with it. We're going to support it on our end and bring in other groups that can help too, because I think women, younger women and men can learn from you in a school system with what you want to do with the educational platform. And just so the audience knows, Natalie's really working at helping empower women and children that are young adults in a high school or middle school situation so that they don't feel depressed, they don't feel anxious, they feel well, they feel happy, they feel supported. And I feel like this is one of the biggest missions we have to contribute to, because our textbooks aren't teaching kids that, right? So Natalie's coming in, and I'd love you to talk a little bit about the project because I'm going to
Thank you.
start talking to people about it. And I'm sorry I caught you off guard in the middle to talk about, or in the beginning to talk about the heart, one of the hardest things you have been through. But again, I wanted the audience to hear, say the club name again so they hear that.
It's Blackpool Football Club,
Yeah.
and I was there for 12 months, and I was hoping it would go the right way, and we would be able to keep it, and I would be able to try and turn things round. And I felt positive that if we did keep it, it would be something that I would really enjoy because it was being with the community, and it would give you lots of opportunities to help the community and to do different things. It's a great platform to bring people together. So I was hoping it would go the right way, but it didn't. And instead, it was a lesson, like you say. And
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for all the kind things that you just said, because
And
that's no one's ever looked at it that way, and no one's ever said any of those things before. So it's a surprise, but really lovely surprise to
it's very
hear
true.
that.
And what I said, by the way, I
Thank
meant
you.
it. And I think I've gone through so much that I recognize it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I recognize it. And I actually, when you told me about it, it changed the way I felt about you, even though I thought the world of you when I met you, because I loved what you were doing. I love what Julie, her making the introduction and
yeah,
understanding what you were doing for women in the school systems. We were very, very interested. But then hearing different things you had gone through helped me relate, because I know in life to really impact the most of humanity, you've got to go through things yourself, or you'll never relate to other people. But I do
Mm.
agree with what you said. I think that the Blackpool, that whole club was great for the community, and I could see how you wanted to hold on to that. And I would say what you're doing now is even bigger in a different way. But that doesn't mean, I mean, who knows, someday maybe you'll own another team or be the chairman of another team. But again,
Yeah,
to me, a huge, huge kudos to you, like, for
thank
doing
you.
that, going through that. I wouldn't be embarrassed of it. I know maybe on social media or marketing or stuff that is rolled out, people want you to feel that way. But deep down, I want to tell you what my grandmother told me. If they're talking about you when you walk in the room, at least you're worth talking about. That's what she used
Yeah.
to tell me. Because I remember
As
one day I was crying about some girls gossiping about me, and I was really young. And she was like, I wish people talked about me like that. He goes,
as
when they talk about you, you're relevant. It's when you're not relevant that no one talks about it. And so I just wanted to share that with you because that was like, I was so little when my grandmother told me that, and I never forgot that actually.
it's
It,
really lovely, and you're right, it's true, and
yeah.
it's great that you've carried it with you all this time. It's lovely, isn't it?
Well, it's lovely. And one of, people always ask me who I look up to. And I always say, I studied a lot with Margaret Thatcher. I really looked up to her. She made similar comments. And so did Mother Teresa. And those are two women that I really, really studied and followed. Eleanor Roosevelt also talked about it because, she was an outlier, very, very different. And people
Yeah.
gossiped about her all the time, saying she was gay and all this stuff. She didn't care, right? It was
No,
who she is. And she didn't need to offer anyone an explanation. And I feel that about you. You don't need to offer an
thank you.
explanation. You've reached a pivotal point that 99.9% of people in the world never will or haven't. And yeah, it maybe didn't end the way you wanted, but now you're on to this next level.
Yeah, thank you. That's really kind. So I'm looking forward to taking the educational program to the schools to try and bridge that gap between the learning and the real world experiences, which, like you said before, there isn't any books to learn that from. And these
No,
special entrepreneurs like you that are doing so much for women, and for people to get a snapshot of you, you've kindly done a video with some advice for people to start to understand some of the things that you've said in that video earlier rather than later. I
yeah,
think is going to be crucial to them finding their way, and then in turn having less mental health issues, because if you find your way and you've got something, then you've got more of a structure, haven't you?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you have to here's another bit of lesson, and I'm sure you know this. Like my mom, I remember I was not the prettiest girl in school. I was not the bright shiny star that everyone looked at. And I remember my mother saying to me, um, it's better if you learn in life to use your personality and your brain than just what you look like, because life's hard and life's not easy. And another lesson she told me was if you ever, life, you just need to be prepared. It's going to be really hard. And if you think that life's about making you happy, I was told it wasn't, that I wasn't meant to be here to be happy. I was meant to be here to learn lessons, to help people, and to be part of this journey with everyone. And I feel like that's a lesson that we can teach younger women, because I think if you're looking at social media and you're seeing all these things that you think that person looks beautiful, they look famous, you don't know the whole story behind what they've gone through. And the truth is, like, my life hasn't been easy. Your life hasn't been easy. It's exhausting, at times. And I want younger people to hear that from us, because I feel like right now there's a generation that thinks they should have it all planned out. They need to know what their careers. Well, I've changed my career about 100 times, right?
Yeah.
So like I want them to feel comfortable knowing this is a journey. If you get depressed, it's okay, but let's get out of it. Let's get up and let's do things. And I want them to hear from me. I'm not happy all the time either. Like if they see me and it looks like I'm always perfect and happy, they won't learn that. They'll think that their life, what's wrong with them, right? So I love, and that's why I really started this conversation the way I did. Your life hasn't been perfect, mine hasn't either. And here's the truth. They don't need to feel bad if they fail. They don't need to feel bad if they don't look perfect, right? If they're not the prettiest
Yeah.
girl in school, if they're not
Yeah.
the most athletic. They need to understand maybe that's a building block, And they'll do even more as an adult than maybe the girls that were the prettiest person in the school or the homecoming queen. You just never know.
What was that beautiful quote that Clayton mentioned with his favorite that you said about the jigsaw pieces?
So I wrote a painting, and I actually wrote it in one of my books. I drew a painting. I paint a lot, or I used to, Natalie. I have to be honest. I've lost that the last couple of years because I'm so busy. Now I buy mostly, I buy art, but an artist, and so on the back, couple of things that Clay took, and then we actually put in one of my books. Is I on the back of one of my pictures and inside the picture I put we're each imperfect pieces to a perfect puzzle. There's another painting that I drew that said everyone wants a piece of her, but she wanted to keep all of her pieces. And it's kind of described what I felt like I was going through as a CEO at one point because it was
Yeah.
really hard. I couldn't keep part of me because everyone wanted every part of me. And it was really, really hard. And then another one, just to tell women out there, is my mom always said you can't dance on tables, right? Or you can't walk on the grass, or you don't drink beer. There's all these rules. I was raised in a home where girls do this and boys do this.
Yeah.
And I wrote, and I wrote this in one of my books. So my mom told me not to do that. So I put my cowboy boots on and I jumped on the table and I danced on the table. Anyway, that was not a slam to my mom, but it was to tell women sometimes you do break the rules and sometimes you do go against what tradition shows you. And again,
Yeah.
this goes back to learning from some of my top role models that I read about: Eleanor Roosevelt, Margaret Thatcher, Mother Teresa. They all went against really what was expected of them and what they should do. Even though I feel like my mom 99% of the time gave me great advice, I still bucked a system, right? Because I wasn't willing just to follow a system. I comply as much as I need to. I do believe in following governments and trying to make sure that we help our world be a better place. But I also believe that you have to make changes sometimes that are not always the easiest to make.
Yeah, you've got to help forge the path, haven't
You
you, for
do.
people to come down, and you've done that time and
Yeah.
time again.
Well, I
So,
just want our younger generation to do it now. Like, because my fear is that you have these phones that are full of social media and everyone's always on that, but they never step up and do something different than what they've been told to do. And I just don't want that. You got to have critical thinking for our next generation to make it. I say constantly, we're smarter than a virus. Viruses mutate, but we have to be smarter. But you got to empower people to fail in order for them to do that. Because if our younger generation, and I see this a lot, if they're scared of failing, so they only do mediocre work or they quit because something goes wrong, then we're never going to make it as a society. I'm just being honest. We won't. You
but
have to be
no,
willing to fail.
you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. And I think it's going to take people like you to come together and inspire them and show them the flaws and the weaknesses like you are doing, and to say it doesn't matter. You've got to keep going, and you've got to pick yourself up when things don't go right, and you've got to keep going. And the lesson that you just mentioned on happiness, I think that's vital, because all of the things that you're teaching people to do, happiness is often a byproduct of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And happiness isn't every second of a day, but it is taking every moment and being thankful for it, even if it's not perfect. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that if I would have quit when people started criticizing me and I felt at my lowest point where I didn't want to get out of bed, I wouldn't be where I am now. And you wouldn't either. And not that we're these great achievers in any way, but we're able to make an impact in different areas. And I know our younger generation can do a lot more than we can if they do understand failure is inevitable, right? Like, as a scientist, as an artist, as a mother, I have to fail, right? Like, I don't want to fail, but there's no way to be perfect. And we see time and time again, I can tell you as a scientist, we're noticing, our governments are noticing that this failure thing with the younger generation. And I'm not criticizing them for that, by the way. I'm criticizing us, because why haven't we taught people it's okay? And it used to be you had this math equation and you're writing it out, and I mean, there were times I got an F, right? Because I wasn't able to figure out calculus, or I wasn't able to figure out, gosh, chemistry. Like, there's different equations. Now you put it into a statistical algorithm and you can Google the answer, right?
Yeah,
You can go to Chat
yeah,
GPT, you can get everything. And so then when someone doesn't get an answer, they're like, wait a minute, they give up, right? And
Yeah,
that just can't happen. And it's because we've taken a lot of the critical thinking out of learning because we
yeah,
just Google, which I love Googling. So I'm not, I love research. And as a scientist, I know how to find things, right? Because that's what I've done for a living.
yeah.
But we
We
have to teach people it's okay if they don't know. Yeah,
Definitely. We need the best of both worlds, don't
we
we?
do.
We need the
Yeah,
technology to be
we do.
doing what you're doing with it and solving problems and health issues, and not to be a barrier to young people progressing. We
Yeah.
need to use it well in society because we're at a danger point with technology, aren't we?
Yeah. And I'm like you, I believe in AI actually. Like people ask
Mm.
me all the time. The issue is AI, it depends on who's using the AI. So what people don't understand, because people are very worried about AI replacing us, right? But the truth is, it's the critical thinking that really teaches AI to do what it needs to do. So if you have a scientist or an IT programmer behind it, they're really teaching that algorithm, right?
Yeah,
And so you've got to have a combination of both. But if you lose that critical thinking ability as a human being and just let AI do everything, then
yeah.
you'll never learn those skills. And we know for a fact that critical thinking is one of the most important things as far as making things work effectively in a system.
But our hearts are irreplaceable. We're irreplaceable, aren't
They're
we?
irreplaceable. You can teach AI to simulate caring, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But to really, like with the neural links and all the stuff they're working on,
yeah,
you can even teach AI, like so right now there's ability to like, if you had a brain and the brain was going to die, to be able to let that brain know as a child you love this kitten, right? And to implant that into the brain. Like now technology has just gone to a complete world that we never thought it would get to, right?
yeah.
But your issue is you can't teach that heart to love. You that's why when they talk about cloning and everything, you can make someone look exactly the same. You can bioprint an arm that looks just like my arm, right? Or even a brain, but you can't put that trait into it. You can't make that person with that soul and that spirit. There's no way to do it. There's a way to
No.
teach them to act like it, right? Like a computer system or a machine or a robot, but you can't actually have them feel that. And that's your difference.
Yeah, you're right. And then I think some things we've gone too far where people they might not speak to people if they're on their own and their interactions are now limited if they can't. I think some things need to take into account like our older generations in society. Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Yesterday I had a friend come in that we also work with from out of town that I actually have known as long as I've known for Clayton, very close friend. And I had this whole day planned and Clayton had to go somewhere else. And so I kind of stepped into the meetings. We had business meetings and then two other meetings. And we sat outside while we were doing it. And it was really hard for me, even though I got the stuff done I needed to get done. I was trying to do the wedding at the same time, trying to get everything. So I was a little stressed, but he said something to me that really caught my attention. And then Joy Smallwood was there. She's a good friend of mine.
I met
He's like,
Joy.
yeah. So he was like, you just can't relax. It was Eric Pike that was here. I don't know if you remember
Of
Eric.
course I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
And he was like,
great.
Christina, you've really got to be present in the moment. And I looked at him in front of Joy and I said, I'm so sorry. You're right. I am forgetting. I have so much work on my shoulders right now. I'm forgetting to be present in
Yeah,
that moment. And I think that's something we can't lose in society. We
yeah.
can't, we can't,
You
we've got to spend time. We've got to connect. We can't just constantly be doing stuff on computers and on algorithms and stuff. We've really got to connect to each other.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But yours is from slightly different to other people's because you've got such empathy that you're so caring about everybody and that everyone's okay and that and then that's where if you're not quite present at that moment, it's because you're just making
You're
sure.
right. That's true. I don't know how you knew that, Natalie, but it's true. I'm worried about everyone else. So,
Yeah,
and then also I have freedom. Like there's a part of me, and Joy said this to me yesterday. I've got to make my own decisions. People can't control everything I do. If I change my mind, then I change my mind. And
yeah,
that's what I want to tell people too. An AI system, you can ask for an alternative, but they're going to usually give you the same answer. And the reason I want to have this discussion is you've got so many people scared of where we're going because of AI and because of technology, but to empower people that are watching this. Again, we are human beings. We are strong. We're stronger than anything that's inside of our bodies. And we just have to remember to connect to this world because we're meant to be here and we're meant to be working together and we're meant to be loving together and caring about each other. And part
And
of that
we've
is accepting failure and accepting success and then trying to help each other get to both, right? Because we will go through.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're really inspiring and you just lift everybody up. I've watched you at these different events now and speak to people, and I always come away from being with you, even if it's just a quick text exchange, feeling like lifted. You just have that impact on people. You've just got that aura, and it's just really a pleasure to get to know you. And I appreciate all the support. And it's so interesting to have these conversations because it's quite new to me, really.
Well, I'm very thankful for it. Clay and I are committed to helping with the project, and I know you said you wanted about 50 companies. Is that right, or am I wrong on that? Because I
Yes,
need
no,
help. Okay.
yes, you're right. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
And you're trying to touch 4,635 schools or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, close to,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and then the government's allowing you to do that, right, Natalie?
Yeah, so I've been doing some pilots with some schools, so they've been successful. So we just need to branch it out now across the rest of the schools.
Well, we're committed. So after the wedding, we'll get together and figure out how many we can do, maybe a soft launch, and at the same time, I'll help grow this, not just in UK,
Thank
but in the
you.
United States. And then I plan on coming back there around July to try to meet with you again and help with it. And if we
Thank
need to
you.
meet with Parliament, and another thing, I'd love to bring it to the Vatican, to the Science Pontification Academy, and to some of the people I work with,
Oh,
Gabriel,
wow.
but there's other people that I know as well that would want to be involved in this.
Thank you.
So where do people find you to talk about this project, Natalie, so they can go and connect? And like I said, I'm not backing out. I want you to know that I'm
No,
all
thank
in,
you.
but I want us to have to grow this with other great groups that really want to help young
Yeah,
women.
thank you. At the moment, till we launch the website, I think just the email natalie@lancashiremagazine.co.uk is the best way to get in contact. I was going to launch the website once we've had a physical launch. Perhaps we could do something maybe. I spoke to my contact at the House of Lords whether we look at something together in September when the schools come back to do a launch there, or and maybe we do a fundraiser for the wearables so that we can perhaps pay from the fundraiser for some of the kids at some of the schools to have the subscriptions, things like that, maybe.
Yeah, I
'Cause
agree. I
lots,
forgot about that because Clay wants to take the wearables and help with the school as well. We're in Dubai in September and different places, but if you tell me what the date is, I'll try to lock it down. And I
no,
also
I'll work around you.
I'm going to follow up with a couple of people I'm working with for how we can get you into other countries to help too. Because I think if you start with UK as like a pilot and you show with what you're doing throughout that system, being able to bring that into different countries would be fantastic. And I think
Yes.
our company, the reason, of course, we're on board, there's a couple of reasons because of how I feel about women and what I want to do, how Clay and I feel about you. And then also, our company is in different countries and we want to support. And so I think finding other companies that are like ours is going to be important.
Yeah.
There's a couple of groups, like there's a group called Asia One I can connect you with, and I told you with Karen that will
Thank you.
somehow bring this together. But
Thank
I,
you.
I do want you to know that we haven't forgotten. This is on our list. Clay and I talked about being able to support at least 1,000 of those systems, but we want to get other people because we really do believe if you have these other companies,
I
it
agree.
will
Thank
help really commit and it will really help the whole situation. You need different experts in different areas, is what you
you.
need.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, I would
Thank you.
love to say I'm the expert in everything, but I'm not, Natalie.
You, I think I described you to someone the other day to my friend because I've been talking to people about roots. I've been
Yeah.
speaking to lots of people, and I
Thank you
said,
for doing that. Yeah.
no, no, honestly, it's a pleasure. And I said to my friend, this new friend is the most impressive woman I've ever met in my life. And I wouldn't say that, and I just want you to know that actually because
Thank
it's
you.
true.
Well, I think, I gotta tell you that London trip was one of the best trips I've had, and part of that was I got to spend time with you, and then I got to spend time with Helen. In my life, I take these snapshots. It's kind of a joke. It's like a Polaroid, and I'm like, I capture it in my heart and in my head, and I just know we're gonna do really good things to help the world. Not that we're better than anyone else. I just think because we have the desire to, and we both have failed a little bit, so we're gonna be pretty good at it.
Yeah. Thank you. It was
So people can go to your email and find you, and then you're in the
it,
process of putting up the website, but your
yes.
magazine's already out.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want people to be where did they go buy the magazine and everything? Or do you just distribute the
I'm
subscription?
Yeah, I can just give them the subscriptions. So if they email me on the Natalie at lancashiremagazine.co.uk, I can give them subscriptions. I can speak to them about anything, follow up about anything, and then send them links. I've got the pack I gave to you. I can send you that in a digital link if you want, if that's
That would be
helpful to
great. That
forward
would
on to
help me with
anybody.
other people. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would really help me. I actually distributed that to Cam and Stephanie. We all met about it, but I would love to have that digitally.
yeah,
And if you
thank
could
you.
include them as well, or else I'll forward it to them. And what I want to do is then start setting up meetings to try to support that. How many people right now are getting that subscription of the magazine? Because the magazine's different than the actual project. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got 20,000 hard copies and 60,000 digital. So
Right.
it's across the Lancashire and the Northwest area of the UK. That's
Okay.
been going, the magazine's been going over 60 years. So that's been well established and features businesses in our area and art and health and a whole, a mixture of
Yeah.
things really.
Well, anything that you need us to contribute, please let us know because we have a PR group and we have marketing that we can send over. And then I can help really get other businesses to do that. But I want to share with the audience one of the things that happened with Natalie is we were talking about these projects with the school system. And then Natalie immediately wanted to help with the route and the different things we're doing, which she absolutely is. And then I asked you multiple times, Natalie, how do we contribute to this to help? And every time, Natalie, you go back to me and what we want. And I really want to tell you, I like this exchange because in the end, we're both going to be doing things to really help each other network and accomplish things. And I want to get as many people on board to help you as possible. So they
Thank,
can email you and find out, and then they can look up the magazine. The magazine's great, by the way. I didn't know it was
thank
16
you.
years. So you must have taken that over, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is it?
impressive. No, it really is.
Thank
60 years of
you.
a magazine and having, and I would have to say the subscriptions even at this point in that area, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you.
gosh, I
I'm enjoying giving them to people actually now and enjoying using them to help different. So we've just done there's I don't know if I mentioned to you like the girls rugby in our area. So we've just done a nice feature and donated some money to them and they're trying to because after 11 years old the girls can't play with the boys anymore so often they don't get to play anymore and so we're just helping them a little bit at the moment and they've got a whole range of teams of different
well, listen, if
ages.
you want us to sponsor a team, we sponsor teams all the time, just so you know.
Oh,
We
thank
do,
you.
we get them jerseys, we pay for their travel. So we've done that. We've even done it with professional teams. So
That's so nice.
please send us anything. I love, 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 love. I used to be in Nigeria a lot, in Ukraine, Russia. I would sponsor their sports team. So anything that you need help with on that, let us know, and we'll feature the
Thank you.
girls too.
Thank
We'll
you.
give them,
That's
we'll give them
lovely.
publicity.
It's really nice. They've even
Yeah,
got a team. They've got a team for every age. They've got a team of older people who have all
yeah.
got catheter bags and play rugby. Can you imagine?
They've got what back?
Catheter bags and
What?
play rugby. How amazing is
It's
that?
amazing, and that's how it
Yeah,
should be. Because your
yeah,
life doesn't stop just because you have a health issue, and that's what
exactly.
people have to understand. I would
Y-
love to be involved in that, so please look
Yeah,
me in. Anything you
okay.
want, if you find a team that you think that you need help with, let us know.
I will
Okay?
do. That's really kind. Thank
Absolutely.
you. It,
Well, no, we would love to. Like that's the kind of stuff I enjoy. I really do. I used to coach. I didn't coach rugby. I coached soccer, which you call football, and
yeah.
basketball and volleyball a little bit with my kid. Yeah. And I miss
Oh,
that. But I think athletics are so important to kids. And what people don't realize is it costs money. And some people don't have money. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's really important to sponsor kids because I think they learn how to get along on a team when they play sports.
Yeah, and how to, yeah, definitely how to interact, how to accept defeat, all
Yeah.
these different things that are important because accepting defeat is, like you said earlier,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
learn it in sport, then it filters through to all the other areas of your life, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I remember feeling just the pain of losing as an athlete. No, really. And just feeling it like just so ashamed. And then but then it's taught me a lot because I played a lot of
Yeah.
sports. So anyway, but I would love to contribute to that. And we are going to
Thank you.
post this and get people to follow what you're doing and look at the magazine. And then the big thing I know you're interested in is really helping all these kids and these women. And so we are very excited about that partnership.
Thank you. And I know that all of your products are going to help people because they're clean, they're natural,
Yeah.
and they're going to give people the option to do things right for their health because
Yeah.
it's so hard. There's so many things full of all different things, and it's difficult to make choices. So to have those where you've done all the hard work is
Yeah.
really admirable.
Well, I had sons that had ADHD and they thought possibly autism. You know, kids aren't perfect. They're human. So they're growing up and now we know that like 1 out of every 5 kids are going to have a neurocognitive or neurodegenerative or mental health disorder. And that's a big deal to me. So the products I worked in the pharmaceutical and biotech agencies and I love those companies. We did great things, but there's some products you don't want kids on the rest of their life. So being able to give them natural products that don't have side effects that help with stuff like ADHD, we don't make claims. Our
Yeah.
goal is just to support their body so they can be as great as they can be. And I always go back to this. Everyone wanted my sons on medication and I wouldn't do it. And if you ask me why, it was because I didn't want them to get addicted to something that was a stimulant. Because some people get addicted to that in their whole life. You know, we talk about people doing cocaine, but Adderall is just as bad. And I'm not criticizing people because I know some people need it. And I just want to tell the audience this. I've never criticized. I have lots of friends on Adderall, Vyvanse, just different things. I understand. So I'm not criticizing that. But for a child, you hope they're not on a stimulant because they have to live the rest of their life, so you want to help their body naturally. And that's really one of the main purposes of the products. Because I
Yeah.
had 4 children and I really wanted people to be as healthy as they could and to cognitively perform and perform athletically and physically. And you can't do that if your body's not healthy. And so the
No.
products are just wholesome. People are like, is zero in a drug? I'm like, no, it's a natural product that helps people focus. But
Yeah.
again, just giving your body those tools, it's the same as what you're giving the tools to empower women. There's different ways you empower people. So I know that's why we're both on this same path and we're doing it in a different way, but now we're joining forces. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Me too, me too. And we'll put your link to at Root and everything you're doing there so you can help. We're working on a program right now, Natalie, where basically we can track per genetics and what they're on and do the data, but I'll get you involved once we get done. And it's going to be connected to the devices like we talked about.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Yeah.
Matt,
And you know what Clay said, like we're trying to really make sure people own their data, that we can't sell their data, that they own everything, because I think that's something we need to get back to people is their own ownership of their body and their information instead of people selling it to other people.
I think that's so important and I don't know anyone else doing things in that ethical way. I think people are going to appreciate it once they understand like what you're doing. I think people are going to want to go down that road, aren't they?
They are. I think once they understand, I think we've all just gotten caught off guard by the
Yeah,
fact that everyone owns everything we're doing and is controlling it. And again, it's okay to have some control, but people need to take back their sovereignty and understand
yeah,
that they can own their own bodies and their own life. And we can't just say it, we've got to help people do it. And I understand. So we will. It's going to be, it's not an easy path. It's a path that's
no.
going to take a while. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a disruptive path, but it's a good path and it's an ethical and it's a helpful and like you say, you're giving people control of their health and how they do things
Yeah.
and I think they'll take more what would you say? How would you put they're gonna take more notice of
I think they'll pay more attention. And I honestly think it
preventative.
will, my personal opinion, and I really mean this, is it will
Mm,
help governments It will
Yeah.
help the economy. It will
Yeah.
help us be successful as humanity. It's not gonna be a negative if it's done the right way.
Yeah.
If the wrong people trying to do it or doing it in a malicious way or a way to hurt governments, it won't work. And I
No.
think that's where I've been different throughout my career. Like when people talk bad about pharmaceuticals and biotech, and I always say I worked at those companies. They're actually really good companies.
Yeah.
There's things they did that aren't perfect, but there's natural companies, there's school systems, there's religions. None of these things are perfect, right?
No.
So I think as long as our intention is correct and we're really
Yeah.
trying to help society and humanity, including starting with people, but also understanding that we have to have governments, right? Because you can't just have a world without that.
Mm.
And I just want all the audience to understand that. As much as we criticize the government, if the government weren't in place, if police weren't in place, if a system wasn't in place, our world would not be able to function the way it is. So people need to look at the whole story, and
Yeah.
all of us try to work together towards improvement is what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And just the preventative element you're giving to people to work with the
Yeah,
governments and themselves, aren't you?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I hope you have a wonderful day. It was so good to
Oh,
see you.
I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy every second.
Thank
And
you. I'm going to try.